Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hello and welcome to this video. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope the universe is treating you well. And I hope everyone's having fun and enjoying life. We are returning to the world of rabbits, going down that hole, pun intended. So, between sinuses and everything else going, we had a cold front blow in and it's got everything going. But this is November, wrong month, November, and hopefully we're going to get a steady cool and be good. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get back into the story.
I walked Chloe and Amanda to the door, and on the way there, Chloe and I shared a brief look. She smiled just a little as she pulled her hair behind her ear, and I felt a wave of electricity move through me. I suddenly couldn't figure out breathing.
I've had that before. In fact, when me and my wife, back when we were dating, one of the first times I met her, it was kind of like that.
Was I on an inhale or an exhale? I eventually remembered how to work my lungs. The three of us hugged goodbye, and I shut the door. As I made my way back to the living room, I thought about the best way to ask Chloe out. Was dinner too prosaic? Definitely. Was there maybe a cool band playing the Crocodile this weekend? I would check first thing in the morning. Then I heard a knock on my door. I was absolutely positive that when I opened the door, Chloe would be standing there. She'd tell me she came back to suggest a late-night walk or something similar, that she'd been having a great time and that she didn't want it to stop. But it wasn't Chloe at the door. It was Amanda.
Yeah, sometimes, you don't get what you want, but you get what you need.
She said she'd forgotten her glasses and suggested we have one more drink. She wanted to talk about Neil Gaiman's Sandman series.
That's actually a really good series of comics, to be honest with you.
We ended up staying together for 5 years. Chloe was balanced precariously on a stool behind the front counter when I arrived. She wore a faded NPR t-shirt, ripped jeans, and standard-issue Apple AirPods.
Now, are they ripped jeans because they're old jeans? Or are they the ones that people spend way too much goddamn money on that are pre-ripped, that are brand new, that are pre-ripped?
Which she pulled out of a tangle of crimped blonde hair when I walked in. She smiled and held up her middle finger. Super unprofessional, I said. This is a place of business. She shrugged. I asked about the mystery woman from the diner. Chloe told me that the woman didn't ask any questions, just played one game of Robotron and left. Why the interest in random business lady? Chloe asked, suspicious. I told her about what had happened with Scarpio. Alan Scarpio? Yeah. Asked you to help him fix the game. Yeah. Rabbits?
Yep, that's pretty much what happened.
Yes. Chloe stared for a moment, then shifted her weight to her back foot and crossed her arms. That didn't happen. I smiled. For real? I swear, it really happened. Holy shit, Chloe said, and her gum almost fell out of her mouth. That woman did ask if I'd seen Alan Scarpio in here. I thought she was fucking with me. It really happened, but Scarpio missed our meeting earlier today, and I haven't been able to get back in touch. Tell me everything, she said. So
that's just a good friend there, doing the whole tell me everything thing.
I did. Chloe made me describe what had happened with Scarpio down to the most minute detail. Twice. As I found myself repeating what had happened, it made less and less sense. Alan Scarpio, billionaire philanthropist and possible winner of the 6th iteration of Rabbids, had told me something was wrong with the game and that he needed my help to fix it. Chloe asked me if I was sure it was actually Scarpio and not some kind of look-alike or something. I nodded, but in that moment, I didn't actually feel all that sure.
Doubt can be a pain in the ass sometimes. Well, a lot of times. Just that little tinge of doubt can derail a lot of really good things.
About anything. Chapter 7. Jeff Goldblum does not belong in this world.
This not only is the title of this chapter fairly funny, but this chapter is it's a very serious and there's some very interesting implications, but at the same time it's hilarious. It's one of those things that it's so serious and so thought-provoking that it's funny, kind of like a good George Carlin stand-up.
3 days after Alan Scarpio stood me up at the diner, I called the number on the business card he'd given me for the last time. Out of service. Baron had taken on another complicated coding project, and Chloe was busy at the arcade, so I spent most of my time cleaning up a couple of online trading accounts I'd been neglecting and taking care of a few things around the house. Meeting Scarpio had begun to feel like some kind of weird fever dream. A brief glimpse into an alternate reality where I was important enough to be sent on quests and billionaires sat down with me for pie.
Now, if you've listened to the Season 1, the Season 2 podcast, that whole section becomes very ominous really quick.
Since the number Scarpio had given me was out of service, and he was legendarily reclusive, I had no way of getting in touch with him. If he really did need my help fixing rabbits, he'd have to find me. I did my best to dive back into my life and tried not to think about rabbits, Scarpio, or anything connected to our strange conversation in the diner. 2 days later, Alan Scarpio was reported missing. One of the public relations companies he owned held a press conference. They said that he'd been missing for what they referred to as a significant but as yet unknown period of time. They were asking for help.
That's never good.
If anybody had any information on Alan Scarpio's whereabouts, they were to please call the number. Holy fucking shit! Baron Corduroy's voice burst out of my phone's tiny speakers. He could clearly barely contain his excitement. Alan Scarpio went missing right after he told us something was wrong with the game.
Us? Baron? Us?
Yeah, it's pretty nuts, I said. Of course, Alan Scarpio hadn't told us something was wrong with the game. He told me, but I didn't have the heart to correct Baron. I couldn't remember the last time I'd heard him this excited. I hope he's okay, I said. Wait, do you think his disappearance might be connected to his visiting you?
Ba-ba-ba-bum.
I don't know. Fuck, Kay. Is this rabbits? I ignored his question. I was still processing the news of Scarpio's disappearance. It couldn't be a coincidence, could it? What the hell are we supposed to do now? All we have is a cryptic visit from a billionaire and some mystery woman who cornered you at the diner, Baron said. But that wasn't all we had. I'll call you later, I said, and hung up. The diner was half full, and the staff were settled into the calm just before the lunch rush. The woman with the grayish-green eyes who'd served us the other day was working. She recognized me with a smile and waved me over to a booth.
Yeah, I imagine she would. She just she probably still, well, I know she still has the phone, but, that's only because I've read the book, so let's continue.
Welcome back, she said, as she filled my cup with coffee. I told her that my friend was busy and had asked me to pick up his phone. She brought it over the next time she refilled my coffee. She obviously had no idea that the person I'd been sitting with was a missing billionaire. I guess she didn't watch the news.
Either that or she didn't really care.
As soon as she handed me Scarpio's phone, I threw down a $5 bill and rushed out of the diner. I was worried she'd suddenly figure out whose phone it was and change her mind. There wasn't much on Scarpio's phone. No photographs, aside from the picture of the dog that functioned as his wallpaper, and no records of any calls, including the call I'd watched him receive that had clearly disturbed him and sent him rushing out of the diner to attend what he'd referred to as a late meeting.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a technology, because I know I can go and manually delete calls that come in. I just wonder if there's a feature that, say, somebody with that kind of coin in the bank could have built into their phone that automatically deleted phone calls when they came in.
Those factors, along with the lack of a connected email account and an empty contact list, made one thing absolutely clear. This was definitely not the missing billionaire's primary means of communicating with the world.
Sounds kind of like a burner phone, to be honest with you.
Rhubarb pie? The magician asked, staring at Scarpio's phone as if it were the Ark of the Covenant. That's what he ate, I said. And coffee? Yep, and coffee. Any special kind of coffee? I shook my head. Just regular diner stuff. The magician nodded and went back to work, his wiry black hair hanging low over cool green eyes, long fingers bending and flexing as he connected Scarpio's phone to a laptop running an operating system I'd never seen before.
I wonder if it's like a Linux variant that he's running on that laptop. Just, I know this is fantasy and makeup. It could be, anything, but, trying to connect it to make it relatable to the real world.
He was wearing a light brown suede jacket over a vintage pink and yellow Teenage Fan Club t-shirt. He looked a bit thinner than the last time I'd seen him, and although it had only been a month or so, he looked years older. Chloe said he'd been in northern Russia for a while, but she didn't know where he'd gone after that. The magician was always traveling somewhere last minute for wildly disparate amounts of time, and then just strolling back into the arcade as if he'd never left. None of us had any idea what he did for money, fun, or anything else.
He was independently wealthy.
You met Scarpio here in the arcade before he had pie in the diner? The magician asked. Yeah, I said, right downstairs. The magician hit a few keys and waited for something to boot up on his laptop. What did he want? He asked me to help him. He asked you to help him. The magician's choice of emphasis would have been insulting if it wasn't so completely warranted by the situation.
I imagine so. I guess it'd be like, Bill Gates or Steve Wozniak walking up to somebody on the street, walking up to somebody like me and going, hey, I need your help. I imagine, telling your friends, hey, Steve Wozniak does, blah, 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 or, and they're like, he asked you, really? I imagine that's the same kind of context there.
Me helping Alan Scarpio fix rabbits? It wasn't just surprising, it was completely insane. And you're sure this was the phone in Scarpio's possession? Positive, I said. I mean, I'm pretty sure. It looks the same. Tell me everything you can remember, the magician instructed.
And with that, we'll go ahead and call this video good here, and we'll pick up with the magician and Kay in the next video. So until next time, be a good human. Be good to other humans. Peace.